There is no such thing as an innocent body, a passive body, or a neutral body. The body is a place of power, but also of resistance to power. There is no such thing as an innocent body, a passive body, or a neutral body. More than a simple expression of DNA, the body articulates the way we think and understand the world we live in. So if biology provides us with templates and building blocks, it is culture and the social environment who determines how these are used, subverted, and applied into what we are here and now. And through art and technologies, we can even exaggerate and distort, transform, mask, and abstract this body. So our body is not innocent at all. In fact, we can see the body as a kind of a tiny model of humankind, as a metaphor of the larger social political body. And this fact immediately called the attention of both artists and academics, who acknowledged that, who found through different ways that the body is a site of power, but also of resistance to power. Although human's existence has always been surrounded by norms, conventions, ideologies, and ready-made ideas, it has been through the body that we have defied, resisted, and disrupted those norms, conventions, ideologies, and ready-made ideas. Because the body is an excellent site for transgression, artists have used it to inquire about other artistic, political, sexual, and spiritual possibilities. And by doing that, they have extended our boundaries of thinking and have opened up more possibilities for living in today's world. I believe this is a very important legacy from them. The problem of body-oriented works is that they have this extraordinary power to open up our Pandora box and let the demons loose. However, it is not easy to discuss about the body in the art world. And I say this because although the body has been artistically represented in every culture since immemorial times, from Paleolithic rock painting to a splintered and fragmented body in a multimedia work, the body has been frequently dismissed, denied, undervalued, and set apart from the formal artist course and scholarship. Why is that? And this is my question here. The problem of body-oriented works is that they have this extraordinary power to open up our Pandora box and let the demons loose, the demons connected with the way we conceptualize the body. For example, in most monotheist religions, the body, and especially the female body, is the locus of sin, of corruption, of impureness, of physical and moral degradation. So it must be veiled and controlled, repressed, and hide it from our eyes and thoughts. For Marxian thinkers, the body is something that is easily manipulated and inflated to a non-realistic level just to serve the capitalist power, transforming itself into another commodity object. And for feminists, the woman's body can be reduced to an object just to serve the male gaze. So female artists, by exposing their embodiment, can endanger their authority and participate in the phallocentric fetishism, a fetishism that sees the female body as lacking in relation to the mythical plenitude of the phallus. But there are other troubles to study art from an embodied perspective. This problematic has been more acute inside a special artistic genre coming up from the visual arts universe, called body art. Here, artists have used their body as a medium to tackle in a direct and unmediated way complex issues of identity and desire, corporeality and consciousness. So let us see how body artworks have challenged the traditional ways to perceive, evaluate, and tell stories in the art world. Any interpretation involves engagement and exchange between the artist and the viewer. Or the witness of one's made actions. For Peggy many body artworks emerged as a response to catastrophes perpetrated during the second half of the 20th century. Catastrophes that reduced death to a mechanical and impersonal event. In face to this, artists strived through their solo works to reestablish the value of individual subjectivity and of life. In the case of Marina Abramović, she re-examined the mind-body problem by exploring alternative modes of consciousness, modes that were not related to rationality, modes that were undervalued by the Western thought and culture. Insisting that life requires and seeks periods of unconsciousness, she created performances in which she almost passed out, touching many times the intangible line between life and death. Other artists went in another direction, as the Australian body artist Stelarc, who, infused by technological advancements such as robotics, the internet, visual reality systems, prosthetics, medical instruments, and procedures, he imagined and experimented a new concept of body based on the assumption that the body is obsolete, the body is outdated. And others, like Anna Wilk and Carly Schneemann, used their bodies to protest against the objecthood of the female body. By performing in a very exaggerated way the sexual, gender, ethnic, and any other particularity of their body, they exploded the modernist model of artistic evaluation, a model that relies on the body of the artist, embodied as male, yet veils this body to ensure the claim that the artist transcends his body through the creative production. So by attempting to unite body and mind together, by exploring the liminal space between reality and unconsciousness, by opening the possibility to redesign our body through technology, and by exaggerating narcissistically a particular female body, body artists have explicitly unveiled and unhinged the masculinist and racist ideology behind the conventional art history and criticism. So, indeed, Amelia Jones argues in her book, Body Art, Performing the Subject, that the modernist regime of artistic evaluation, influenced by the Cartesian thought and the Kant's aesthetics, has largely repressed the body from the art discourse, because the particularities and subjectivities attached to the artist's body subvert their assumption that the meaning of a work of art is determined by its formal structure only. Inside this model, the interpreter should purge himself of the senses, because not only they endanger his intention to make an objective and impartial analysis, but also because an active involvement with the artwork could lead him to sympathy and tears, and that would be a tragedy. Well, about this danger, I must remind you that neuroscientists have shown us that our system of thought, our intelligence, is both emotionally and corporeally based, so we need emotions and feelings to think and to decide well. Another aspect brought out to surface by body art is that any interpretation involves engagement and exchange between the artist and the viewer. Body-centered practices, through their contingent, non-universal, and non-Kantian perception of art, and through their active solicitation of the spectator's desire, they encourage us to perceive art not as a unique object, but as a phenomenological interchange of codes, behaviors, and expressivities between two embodied and two erotically invested subjectivities, the artist and the viewer. So, in short, body art opened up the possibility for new engagements which can transform the way we think about meaning and subjectivity, and ultimately, it encourages us to rethink the very methods by which we fabricate stories in the art world. And this leads me to music. Like body art, the way we understand music in the Western world is very influenced by Descartes and Kant's thinking, which have justified a disembodied perspective of music. However, we can deal with music in a whole new different way, and this is what I want to bring here. As a music performer, educated according to the Western art tradition, the relationship between music and the body has always been central for me. I was intrigued by the fact that although we need the entire body to perform an instrument and to create a meaningful moment of music for us and for the others, according to the conventions of music making, we should hide ourselves, both physically and emotionally, to not contaminate the supposed original intention of the composer with any strong personal attribute. This would be wrong because inside this context, music is primarily understood as text, not as a performance art. And this tiny difference has a huge effect on the way we think, we study, we teach, we make, and we listen to music. As Nicholas Cook points out in a 2001 article at the Music Theory and the Line, if we think of music as a product of performances, both the performers and performances are a kind of supplement to the ideal silent contemplation of musical texts. Although we find bodies in this model, these are very well organized and hierarchically allocated according to their category and status. If we imagine a kind of pyramid, at the top of it we have a discrete list of composers who transcend their corporeality through the creative production. In the middle section, we find the performers, whose presence is tolerated, ideally in a discrete manner and obeying to a strict black dress code, just to execute the ideas of the composers. At the bottom of this, we find the listeners, an amorphous amount of passive bodies that have no direct influence in the edification of the musical object. So inside this paradigm, music is essentially seen as something independent of external meanings and social context. It belongs more to the realm of gods rather than to earth, which is crowded of contingent, subjective, and corruptible bodies. But if we think of music as a performance art, as both a process and a product of performances, we must see it as an irreducible social phenomenon involving real-time interactions between the musicians and the audience. This approach emphasizes the functioning of the performing body, both in itself and in relation to the other dimensions of the event. If you want to understand how music performs, meaning no item in the environment of the performance can be discounted as insignificant. In a performance paradigm, everything counts. The performance theory and practice helped me to think broadly about music. In a performance paradigm, everything counts. First of all, so how can the performance theory and practice help us to launch a more broadly understanding of music? First of all, by providing us an embodied theory that makes us acknowledge that, for example, the impure and supplementary status of the body is nothing more than a convention, an ideological and philosophical construction. The more easily we understand this, the more easily we will get rid of taboos and ready-made ideas that just inhibit us to fulfill our imagination. Secondly, by proposing a musical language, mediated or not through technology, that comes directly from the body, that is informed by the body, and thus creating a sound of our body. Thirdly, by making us aware of many other bodies that contribute in a democratic and shared way to the effectiveness of a musical event. According to this system of thought, we have the body of the composers, of musicians, of the audience, but also of technicians, managers, producers, video editors, and web designers. More, we have the body of the instruments, the body of space, the body of the architecture, the body of the space limited by lighting, the body of technology. Fourthly, by emphasizing the body of time, and whenever we perform, we deal with an intimate here and now. We deal with presence and attitude, and we play in this ambiguous time between real time and ritual time, and everything gains a unique sense of purpose, like handling objects, speaking words, or simply looking at you. Fifthly, by highlighting the body of the audience. Here, we consciously try to activate the audience physically, emotionally, and spiritually by stimulating all their senses at once. So instead of a formal, objective, and distant perception of the artwork, we strive for a synesthetic perception, for an active and embodied involvement of the audience with the event. Here, the audience matters. Sixthly, by proposing a different purpose to the effectiveness of a musical event. A purpose that aims not to like or even to understand the event, but instead to trigger a process of reflection in the audience's mind. If the performance is effective, this process can last for several weeks or months, and the questions embodied in the ritual of the performance will continue alive in spectators' dreams, memories, and conversations. Finally, what about the future of the body? Is the body obsolete, as Stellar pointed out in the 90s? Well, I don't think so. But surely this highly technological and virtual scenario that we live today will certainly change our perception of the body. I think that no matter how civilized we are nowadays, like our ancestors, we do not want to lose track to magic, to transcendence, to the ethereal, and to the absolute. And to do that, we need a body. We need a body to stop our frantic life. Even if just for a moment, the moment of the performance. We needed a body to stop time, to feel intensively and slowly whatever we are witnessing with our senses and thoughts. And also we need a body to experience other possibilities of aesthetical, sexual and political freedom, possibilities that we lack in our own lives. I believe that only then we are able to find our embodied place in this world and to build a full life in freedom and responsibility. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. You're talking about presence and attitudes. I think if there's one question, it has to be a question with attitude before we move on. Do you feel like asking or commenting, or is it something you just wanted to take away? Because it was quite a powerful presentation, so it's weird to ask questions, I think. Anything you... Marco wants to ask questions. We have one question.
I don't want to go in the atmosphere. No, but yeah, convincing presentation. I just wanted to know something more, actually. You presented the whole notion of the body in many different contexts, and I just wanted to hint, what about how the industry and corporations and all the like are dealing with the body, especially now with all use of biometric data for targeted advertising and so on. So if you have any thought about that.
Speaking industry, I mean publicity or out publicity?
Yeah, because it's becoming the latest trend of all kind of corporation and industry now to get a real grip on the physiology of the body of users and customers, to create a targeted marketing campaign and real-time adverts in the street which exist already. So yeah, if you have any thoughts.
Yes, I mean, at one hand, the body is repressed. At the other hand, it's overrated, it's used in a non-realistic level, as I say, just to serve to be a sexually consuming object or to help consuming something. You're dealing with two big forces. We must find an equilibrium, of course. I don't want to hide my body, I think, but I don't want my body to be used too. We need to, I mean, artists or consciousness, you have to find an equilibrium. That's the, how can I find this equilibrium?
That's a good question.
Well, I try.
That might be a long answer.
Well, each of you will have to, first of all, you have to be acknowledged of all of these two opposite forces. And after that, you have to create your own, your own equilibrium. I surely know mine, or I know how to, I mean, I'm here, and I want to be sexy, I want to seduce you, that's why I'm here, I mean, with my ideas, but also with me. And I don't want, I don't want to, well, you have to put you have to put mind in the body too, for example. It's not just a bodily language. You have to mix things. You have to mix the opposites. Well, that's how I do. I just mix everything, and I play with it. Or I try to, the body artists have used their body, this is my body, but not in a fancy way, not in a beautiful way. They posit themselves in sexy positions, but somehow it's grotesque, it's horrible. I don't know, you have to see the pictures. So there's a shock. You have to deal with the opposites. You have to deconstruct the concept. I don't know how to answer. I just did this because I felt that my body repressed in music by the music department, and so and I didn't care for them what they wanted. I just did this was my improvisation work during my master's. I didn't care how. If they were repressed with their bodies, that would be that's their problem. It's not mine. And I was so inspired by Pina Bausch atmosphere, and and so I just did this this work with my eyes closed. I wanted to, with my eyes, my body, and the body of the piano is another body, and I told a story with it. I created a story, and I was outside. I just closed my eyes, and I didn't want to. Oh, I need to accept. I need to play the right key at the right moment. I wanted to go out of it. No.
I think you managed very beautifully to juxtapose the Café Müller and your own performance. And if you're not aware, there's one work I urge you to look at. It's a recent PhD student of ours. She's a female body. She's also a pianist, and she's a dancer. And she does. She's called Imogen Newland. And if you haven't come across her work, she does, a lot of these very similar things, but she also looks at a lot of feminist theory and critical theory, and I think would be really inspiring for you to meet her, to meet and to work together. And so. Teresa, I would like to thank you because I am conscious that people want to go to the lunchtime concert. So thank you very much for a wonderful performance.
Yes.